if the ocean survives is when we survive, right? 1 out of 2 breaths that we take comes from the ocean.
Right.
So it's very important for us to understand that it is the ocean is that what we need to harvest sustainably, right? When I discovered seaweed, I realized that, it's one of the most ancient organisms that sort of lived on this, planet. But our packaging in certain cases is not just a sustainable packaging. It's actually a better packaging from functional properties.
Hi friends, welcome to Change Started to Hasi's Change Trails. Plastic, we all know, is a unique product. On one hand, it solves so many problems in our day-to-day lives. On the other hand, it is a massive problem. It is literally choking our cities, our rivers, and our oceans. And there is an urgent need to solve this problem. And one such solution could be biodegradable plastic, a plastic which can decompose in few days or weeks' time. And there is a company which is doing it very innovatively. And that company is Zerocircle. To speak more about it, we have with us the founder of the company, Neha Jain, with us. Thanks, Neha, for joining this conversation. So why don't you just tell us about your journey before you started this company?
I'm sorry about that. That was my cat. Before I speak, my cat introduced himself. Thanks, Varun. Thanks for the lovely introduction. Hi, I'm Neha, I'm founder of Zerocircle. I think the journey to Zerocircle was, a bit of learning experience from every direction. I come from a IT background. I worked for several, large conglomerates. But on the digital side. So, I knew nothing about materials. In 2018, I left my job and I wanted to sort of create materials that made sense. But prior to sort of being able to define that into a one line, I needed to know what I really needed to solve for, right? We talk about sustainability in a very, very broad sense. So I started working with a lot of companies, and I did a lot of pro bono work, and the work ranged from to like architecture and ideal solutions for architecture, right? And that's what I really realized, that if you want to bring in a big change in terms of reducing the carbon footprint of what we do, it won't just happen from conscious consumer choices and better engineering. And although these two things are extremely important, but there is more fundamental to sort of, what goes into the carbon release into the environment, right? So where does the process start? And we're very good with engineering, but, we think very little about the materials. There's very little innovation that has happened in terms of materials. So plastic was, way towards the end in, before I started identifying the materials. So what I did was I started identifying what is the footprint of every material before it goes into the so-called engineering of the 21st century. No matter what the source is, synthetic or waste, it usually has a large unintended footprint, which we don't plan for. Right. So there is your, what is the impact of raw material, then what goes into processing, and its end of life. How does it disintegrate, decompose, depending on what the material is, right? So the understanding of the entire thing is what I sort of put in the last, in the last 2 years, which was so-called the research that I put in. And while I was doing this research, I also realized that there has to be a material that is not just renewable, it needs to be regenerative, right? Because we can't be just exploitative from the environment. And I think kids of today understand that, but we're not really left with much choice, right? So the industry also should be made an ally, then an enemy, right? Because, when I discovered seaweed, I realized that, it's one of the most ancient organisms that sort of lived on this, planet. prior to, even seaweed, it was the oceans that, that we had, right? Microalgae and macroalgae are actually the ancestral trees of the day-to-day world, right? They actually told us how to live on land. They are the fathers of the trees that we have. And what's most important is that the ocean, if the ocean survives, is when we survive, right? 1 out of 2 breaths that we take comes from the ocean. So it's very important for us to understand that it is the ocean is that what we need to harvest sustainably, right? So what is it that you can take from the ocean that can be built into a material, be used sustainably, and it can go away sustainably, right? So it's a very hard sort of cycle and a holistic cycle to think of. And that's when a lot of researchers are already putting in their minds on this problem. The problem that I wanted to solve is take the research that has already been done and being done and create a solution around it. So seaweed is one of the base materials that we use, and we replace a material that is used only for 5 seconds to 5 minutes. It lives for 400 years, right? So we replace that material with our seaweed-based packaging, and it goes away just as easily as it came to life. So if you're done with your packaging, you can throw it in the wet waste, which is your wet bin, if you don't know how to compost. And by any chance it makes it into the ocean, which in most cases it does, it is marine degradable. So it will be soluble and it will dissolve in the ocean without leaving any microplastics. So no harm to the biodiversity in the ocean, right? So it sort of goes in the full circle.
Why don't you, I mean, there would be a lot of people who will not understand what is seaweed. So just maybe take a couple of minutes just to demystify what is seaweed. I mean, we know it is there in the ocean, but there are a lot of things in the ocean, right? So what is that something special you're picking up?
Right. So I think there are a lot of organisms that we understand, right? So fauna, flora, I think that's something that we know. There's fungi, and there's a new documentary that came around, fantastic fungi. So a lot of people are talking about it. And there's another organism called algae, right? So, and algae comes in many forms, right? The most romantic form of algae is seen in the form of kelp. And they're wonderful forests that they create. And these are vertical forests. Kelp is one species out of like probably more than 12,000 known species right now to us. In the most simplistic way, if I were to put it, it's like the plant that grows in the ocean. But it's not scientifically called a plant. It's algae grows. Yeah.
And that I believe is also contributing to a lot of oxygen which is coming out of these oceans, right?
Yes. So seaweed, most interesting capability is at the rate at which it grows. So it's photosynthesizes plant, carbon dioxide, and releases oxygen. So that's a simple sort of process. But the rate of photosynthesis is extremely high. It does not require energy to be grown. It does not require any fertilizer. It does not need a drop of fresh water, and of course, no soil. Right? So it's not taking anything. Okay, so what does it really need? It needs seawater, right? 3/4 of our planet is seawater. Right? So it needs that and sunlight. So I think more emotionally, I would call it the lungs of the ocean. Because they really, every time it grows, it's not just reducing carbon dioxide from the ocean. It is also reducing nitrogen. It's reducing phosphorus. And so how does nitrogen and phosphorus enter the ocean, right? It's the agricultural runoff.
Correct.
Because of the whole agricultural wave, it is going into the water streams and it is polluting the, and excess nitrogen and phosphorus is detrimental to the health of marine life. So it's really cleaning up the oceans and it's growing into seaweed. And if you can take this very easily grown species, cultivate it, not deforest it, but cultivate it and make it into a useful product and create a product which can go away easily, which leaves nothing bad behind. I think that is the simplicity that we're trying to sort of imbibe in the way we're building products.
Nobody would have thought that we could use a plant out of sea to make some beautiful product. But if I'm not wrong, there are other things by which you can also make the product you want to, right? I mean, the biodegradable plastic can also be made with corn, and there are certain other things with which you can make this biodegradable plastic. So why specifically seaweed is something which you have selected?
Agricultural products are great because they're bio-based, but they require a lot of input, right? Corn, soy industry are extremely exploitative from the way they are commercially produced. So the question really is, do you want to replace, do you want to use food to make plastic? Because that brings in another problem of sustainability and future food security, right? So you do not want to use the agricultural cheese to make your materials. Because
true. So I believe you are one of those companies in India which is actually doing it. So did we have any examples outside India who are doing it successfully, and how are people taking it up?
There are a few startups that have done this, taken up this wonderful challenge, even before, Zerocircle came into existence. There are startups that are making these cool water pots that you can, it's
Right.
Water you can eat.
Yes.
But our focus is primarily on industrial packaging.
Right.
Because, I know cars are polluting, and, PET bottles are also, have low recycling rate, but I would say probably higher than other plastics. What does not have a good recycling rate is flexible plastic. Right. And it's also the unseen plastic that we don't realize. We look at our shampoo bottles and the bottles that we find in the kitchen, but it's the flexible transparent packaging don't realize how much we use of, and that is the least recyclable material that we buy.
Thinking of a solution and finding a solution is one thing, but then you have to invest a lot of money, your resources, your time, your energy. So that also is a big challenge in starting anything like this, right? So how did you got that help? Were you lucky enough to find the right set of people and the right resources to get this moving?
I think getting started is always hard, and so I used my my savings that I have kept away for a special project that I will pick on in the future, and which is this one. There is a general consciousness that I've seen in the last few years that's come about, and there are a lot of support systems that exist. So apart from the excitement that we see from our clients when we talk about our products, we see general excitement in the community, which is the startup community. And there's so many wonderful accelerator programs across the world that are running, and we've been incubated by quite a few of them. They've connected us not just to clients. These are people you can collaborate with, build out your business strategy, but even, where could we, if we have to set up our business in Vietnam or in Philippines, how do you collaborate with them, right? So just that sort of access, be it Norway or be it any part of the world. So connections are the most important asset that you need at this stage. Capital is, of course, another one.
Correct.
But, as an entrepreneur, you do figure out your capital, but it's the connections that you need to sort of build on that are harder to get.
Correct.
But I think being more digitally savvy, it becomes even more easier, because a lot of people are available to sort of talk to you, and you use your time more optimally than travel to those destinations. So we've been lucky to been invited to multiple forums, be connected to various sorts of people. So yeah, that's been something that has been extremely helpful for us.
Excellent. And wishes to you that you keep on exceeding and succeeding. My next question would be like, what kind of products you have got into, Neha? So, and how does a consumer use this product, or how does a consumer touch and feel this product?
It probably might feel a little softer than plastic, but it looks essentially a lot like flexible, transparent plastic films that you get. So in terms of what you feel around it, a common consumer will not be able to tell the difference,
right.
honestly. the consumers will never have to, buy packaging from us because we try to replace it right at the top. So we work with B2B brands, and the B2B brands are actually the buyers of the packaging.
Right.
So the product that comes to you is, you will be the indirect buyers of that packaging, but not something that the consumers will, need to buy from us.
Right.
So what kind of packaging are we really replacing? So we started with processed food, hardest one to get.
Right.
It's got so many compliances, food contact, food safety, several things, right?
Right.
That's expected of it. At the same time, we have to maintain compostability and easy compostability, right? Our product composes like a vegetable, right? So to maintain that, it's a hard one. But we're working with several other consumer brands that are in the space of skincare, personal care products. The most exciting one that we've just sort of started building on is fresh food packaging.
Right.
What we noticed is that our packaging in certain cases is not just a sustainable packaging. It's
Right.
actually a better packaging from functional properties. So we tested our packaging with bananas, with tomatoes, with berries, basically fruits and vegetables that go bad very quickly.
Right.
And we noticed that in days, we took unripe bananas, for example, and we kept it in our packaging in on open shelf and in several kinds of plastics. And we noticed on the 10th day, every kind of packaging other than ours made the product rot and ripen very fast. Same was the case with no packaging banana. In our packaging, it was barely ripe. Right? So we started with the green unripe banana, and it was just turning to ripen very slowly. It's a clear sign of extending the shelf life, right? And that's a very important factor, especially when a third of our food goes to waste.
Absolutely.
Even before it reaches our plates, right?
Yes.
So that's one of the most exciting finds that we've had. And, we are actively inviting a lot of fresh food companies, e-commerce players who are in the space of, food delivery, fresh food delivery,
right.
And in general market chains to test our packaging, because it is going to have a huge impact in terms of commercials for them.
Absolutely. So that is a big value proposition which you would be giving to your business, right? I mean, food wastage is a huge problem, and if packaging can solve it, then nothing like it. I mean, wonderful. So one more question, Neha, is like plastic, as we know, have 7 categories, right? And it is used for varied purposes. So what I could understand from this conversation is that primarily the packaging which you are giving, the seaweed packaging which you are giving, is solving the primary food problem. But how is there a potential that it can also solve other problems? Like plastic is there everywhere. I mean, even medicines, table, chairs, pipes, everything has a plastic. So what all aspect your plastic or your product would be able to cover?
For us, before defining the form or the application, I think what we target is the nature in which it is used. So if it is single use, is something that we would look at first, right? But since we're a very young company, we want to sort of focus on one domain first, and that is of flexibles. And typically, if you were to look at 1, 2, 3, 4 to 7, you have LDPE or PE and PP. These are polymers that are primarily used for flexible, transparent packaging.
Right.
In that space, we are replacing these 2 polymers.
Okay.
So to be very, very specific, you could use other polymers also to make packaging, but these are the most widely used synthetic polymers.
Right.
And our properties directly match the properties of these synthetic polymers. So LDPE, I think our packaging can be as strong and as flexible as LDPE.
Yeah. So just
polyethylene.
Right. So just to give a perspective as to how many applications it could be used. I mean, if you can name few, like, I mean, is it like milk packets, bread packets? So what kind? I mean, Zomato and Swiggy packaging. What kind of packaging will it be relatable?
It's a very sort of wide category. Any product that you see in a supermarket, right, which is in a form of flexible. It could be a chips packet. It could be noodles packaging. It could be bread packaging, because even that is a flexible. It could be milk packets. But our first focus market is of dry products.
Okay.
So milk is something that we will probably take on in the second stage.
Right. Gotcha.
So any food product that is dry is what we are targeting. Anything that is that has high moisture content or is completely water is something that we're not taking up. However, when we say that we're not looking at liquids, we do not mean oil. Oil packaging is one of our focus products for the packaging that we built out. We are also engaging with brands right now, again, large CPG brands, to replace oil packaging. Any of your cold pressed oils to regular sunflower oil that you buy.
Cool. So now coming back to your company, so how many businesses have taken up your product, and in what time, or what can we see it in India and any of the products which you have already collaborated with?
Every brand that we're working with, which are our clients and customers, are global brands and have very strong presence in India. So once we actually do production, so we're pre-revenue right now, pre-production, all our products being tested and are being scaled up to a level it can be commercially produced.
Next question would be like, what kind of challenges did you face in this journey, Neha? I mean, it is a very typical product which you are making, so I'm sure there would be a lot of challenges. So what all challenges did you encountered?
The big one was finding the right talent. Usually startup as a community, a lot of people sort of come and join, but it's very, very limited to the IT and the IoT space. But when it comes to biotech, startups, there are startups that are sort of working in that space, in terms of electronics and stuff, but material science is still new in India from a startup perspective. Another was orientation towards sustainability, because when you get talent, they know ABCs and the fundamentals of producing a material. But producing a material that has, keeping in mind the holistic sustainability, is a hard one, right? So we've been trained of synthetics to solve a problem. So we always run to a polymer, which is a synthetic polymer, to solve that problem. The mind shift to sort of help understand your team to not think about that is definitely a challenge. But I think talent and bringing them on board is the hardest one. Was the hardest one, I would say, all of last year and this year. But we've just started hiring, and we've seen some tremendous tremendously talented people who are out there who we want to sort of bring on board.
Absolutely. And the problem with which we are dealing, I'm sure a lot of people would get on board and be with you. So how do you plan to scale this up, and what are your plans for the future?
Recently raised a pre-seed round from a climate fund, and that helped us do the pilot production, which we've sort of been gearing towards all of this year. So in all of 2022, or rather the first half of 2022, we will be executing our pilot production. That is to sort of understand the scale and the production speed, and how much we can really produce in a day and how much we can supply to a brand, because the brands that we're talking to require materials in a very, very large quantity, right? So efficiency, speed, and material availability, these will be the challenges that we will be solving for in the next 4 to 6 months from now.
Okay. So is it like, you mentioned about this, right? Currently you're focusing on the dry products, but your next target could be the liquid based or moisture based product, right?
Yeah. So I think in terms of what can be built out of it, I think it could be in terms of the range of products that we could package. So when I say that dry products, it's not just dry food products.
Right.
It could be electronics, it could be fashion, it could be apparels, it could be anything that is dry, and they are packaging right now. It is the wet products, which are food and non-food. That's something we will take up in the coming years.
So where are you getting this resource, this beautiful resource from, right? I mean, India, we know have 7,000 kilometer of sea line or ocean line. So, but where is this product of seaweed grown, and from where are you taking this resource?
We have some wonderful partners across India. Some of them are in Tamil Nadu, some of them are in north of Gujarat, and some of them are in south of Gujarat. And they are sustainably cultivating this on their own. And there are sort of two ways that we are getting the biomass. One is through seaweed collectives that are not hand harvesting, but cultivating it from the microfinancing that they get from the government.
Right.
And the other community is of SMEs that are doing land-based production. And that's something that is a new technology in itself.
Okay.
And when I say land-based production, it's basically a tank that is placed right next to the seashore, and you grow seaweed with in that. And again, you take the seawater into the tank. You don't put fresh water in that.
Right.
Again, and that's also a very low energy sort of technique. So it's low on energy consumption again. The benefit of using tank culture over open sea is that instead of getting 7 months of produce, you get 12 months. Just like any agricultural product, it's prone to getting diseases. And the rising temperature in the seawater is also fluctuating a lot. So sometimes the entire biomass can go for so just to have predictability in terms of supply chain, makes sense to also invest in land-based cultivation of seaweed.
You plan to set up your manufacturing facility in Mumbai, or somewhere else?
Our plan is to keep the manufacturing closest to the site of seaweed production. So our sense is that we would probably look at a 200-kilometer radius. So seaweed goes through a couple of levels of processing. Our plan is to keep it about 200-kilometer radius from the site of production.
And another problem, I mean, generally associated with sustainable product is that cost goes high. So is it something, comparable with plastic, or more or less same, or how is it?
So I think the bans that are coming in, plastic bans, which is, just around the corner in 2022, most of the brands will have to move away from synthetic polymers, right? So when we are actually looking at competition, we're really looking at the natural polymer or biopolymer market, which are the bioplastics market. So we do our assessment in the biodegradable market more in, we don't compare ourselves with non-degradable product, right? Because if you're giving a 5-star facility, you don't compare yourself with a 1-star hotel, right? I would probably take that liberty to say that. So if you're looking at biodegradable market, our product is extremely price competitive. Reason is the way we are utilizing the yield, which most companies that are using the same biomass are using. So they go for extracted materials. We try to use biomass, and that really reduces the cost.
More power to you. So my final couple of questions, Neha, is what was the reason or idea behind the name Zerocircle?
So I think it should be easy to understand, but just sort of we're on the same page. The idea was zero carbon footprint, zero impact, and a circular economy. So just sort of imbibe that meaning. We put together Zerocircle. A lot of people come and say that how can you create zero carbon footprint? I think My answer is it's our attempt to, to the race towards zero. Because when you look at, when you want to run towards zero is when you will get somewhere close to that. So that's the philosophy around it.
I mean, very nice name. I find it very innovative and unique. What is your personal connection with nature? Leave Zerocircle aside in your life. What is your personal connect?
Sorry, I lost you for a second. Personal connect
with nature and environment.
Nature and environment. I think it's been again a process, from someone who just took nature and everything for granted. I've been there. I'm a better person now. But I think my connection to nature was when I really started rescuing animals. And, I sort of looked at, you don't look at your environment, you look at your homes and how clean they are and, how much muck you have on them. But you don't necessarily look at the environment that you're creating for animals around you. And that really changed the way, I looked at, what we are creating and have created, for, life other than just humans. It's not like life for humans is any good because look at the air quality, but it was my connection to animals of all species, not just cats, that made me realize where we were heading towards.
Cool, awesome. So, are you more of a sea person or a mountain person?
I am definitely a sea person. But I do fall sick often in the sea.
No, because I was asking because I mean, if you were more of a sea person, that's why you could find this solution of a seaweed and take it and make it such a innovative and sustainable product, which everybody, all of us can use for this environment and nature. So thanks a lot, Neha. Thank you so much for your time and speaking to us.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, Varun.